Welcome to our podcast. This week, we're going to discuss distros, window managers, desktop environments, etc. on Linux. Let's start off. Kanishkar, you want
Yeah. Okay. I thought first we'll start with the differences. I mean, what is a desktop environment, VM, I mean, window manager and stuff.
to? Yeah, that's
So,
great.
yeah. Like, yeah. So one explanation I read was, I mean, it's a pretty simple one is, so you have something called as display manager, or that's the lowest level. So what it does is, it literally you can give it something to render, like you can give it an image and it renders it on your screen. That's it. So it's like you give it an image and it'll just show it on your full screen. That's it. So above that, you have a window manager. So this is what handles your windows. What it does is, it like, let's say you open a Firefox and you open a terminal and you position it somewhere. So the window manager will generate the image based on how you have configured your desktop right now, or whatever you have done right now, and it will send it to the display manager and it will show it on your screen. Now, I think the next level is we can talk about Composer. Composer is something like, in simple terms, it adds animations to your window manager. Like otherwise, generally window managers are like snappy. That is, you move a window here or you do something, it just happens like that. And also, you might notice this thing called a screen tearing, which generally happens if you don't have a Composer. So Composer does this thing where it kind of gives a smooth, or you can also add other animations to different things you do on it. And then above that, okay, now this is the whole display stack. Now this is separate. Now now we have what's called a desktop environment. That's a DE. So what it is, I mean, a desktop environment is nothing but it is a display stack with applications. So it's like, let's say you install Ubuntu, you would have noticed that it comes with a particular UI. Now, and it'll also have some particular set of default applications. Like you can, try this out, install Ubuntu, then maybe install KDE, I think KDE Neon or any other distro, which is not GNOME based. Now you see that there's a different UI, and also the default applications installed on your system are very different. So a desktop environment is basically a collection of applications. That's it. So you can, I mean, that's all it boils down to. Kunal, Vishnu, anyone want to add on this? Correct me if anything was there.
Yeah, I just want to add that add some examples. So for desktop environment, it's like KDE or GNOME. That's the popular ones. There are other lightweight ones too, but yeah. Then WMs, window managers are mostly, they're considered more lightweight, and there are like tons of them. The most popular one will be i3. If you go to this subreddit called r/unit spawn, you can see like tons of customizations of their Linux systems. Like it's really customizable. Like when you're using a window manager, it's like you can customize almost anything about it. So yeah, if you're interested in it, you can actually go check out r/unit spawn. Yeah. So I think we could maybe, next one, should we discuss distros? Or Kanishka, you can go on with the replacing Kevin with i3, that thing.
Oh yeah. So now the thing with, so as like we discussed earlier about desktop environments being just collection of applications. Now, what this means is that you can also like install a desktop environment and replace parts of it. So like, let's say by default, you have a particular window manager or a particular, Composer. You can just remove it and install your custom one on it. So that's pretty like, that's interesting, and it helps because maybe like you like some feature of a window manager, but you like the desktop environment also, and you don't want to switch completely to a window manager. And yeah, also one more thing, like, so as I said, a desktop environment has a window manager in it, but you could also, like Vishnu said about i3 window manager, you could also like not have a desktop environment and just install i3 VM. So in that case, you won't have a lot of default applications. So you won't have like for example, you might not have the settings manager properly configured, or you might not have like gestures or keyboard shortcuts configured, like a lot of things like this. Like you will have to literally install it and then configure it manually yourself and everything. And I think that's fun. Actually, to be honest, it's fun. You guys must try it out. So yeah, so another thing is the earlier thing I talked about. So KDE has a window manager. I mean, KDE is a desktop environment, and it uses a window manager called Kwin, which is something they built. Now, so you might, I mean, so like I said, like I personally liked i3 window manager for some of its features, and I wanted to use that, but I didn't want to lose the default applications and everything provided by KDE. So what I did, and it's a very easy thing to do. There are a lot of blogs and videos which tell you how to do it. Is you can like replace KDE with i3 VM. I mean i3 window manager. So what then happens is like next time when you start up, restart your system, for example, when your system is booting up, instead of starting Kwin, you'll start i3 window manager. And because it was replaced, I mean, everything else will mostly work fine. Like all the other KDE configurations, like if you had set up some shortcuts, and everything will mostly work fine because you just replace the part of it and everything else will mostly fit in well with it. And I mean, I don't think every desktop environment supports it, but that's one advantage of KDE. Like KDE is like really configurable and they support a lot of features. Yeah, so I can send a blog if someone needs it. I can send you the blog which I followed for doing it if someone is interested.
Yeah, one more thing about window managers. It's the most of the window managers are what's called tiling window managers. So tiling is basically you can split your entire screen straight into different sections or grids, and you can place windows there. So it's basically you can manually or dynamically place windows in specific workspaces or parts of your screen. Whether this is actually a better thing is debatable, but it's a quite interesting thing to do. And I mean, I think that for me personally, it actually improves my productivity. Like I have a workspace for browser and all my browsers go there and stuff like that. So yeah, it depends on how you work. But if you're using Linux, you may want to experiment with lightweight WMs like i3 or Awesome. Awesome is the one I use. Yeah.
Yeah, and generally, most of the times you'll see a battery life improvement and lesser RAM consumption if you use only a window manager instead of a desktop environment. Because, like, yeah, I mean, as I said, like, desktop environment comes with a whole set of things. So they might add additional things that you might not require. So, or you might never use. So these things will constantly keep running, which will eat your RAM and your consume power. So with by installing a custom window manager, I mean by installing a window manager only, you get that flexibility of installing things only which you need, not a whole suite of things in which you might not use like 80% of them or something. So yeah, again, it's all like dependent on what kind of things you do or what is comfortable for you, but it's definitely worth trying it out. Like you learn a lot, and you'll also, I mean, you learn a lot, and it's also fun. Like you can check out Unix Spawn, like Vishnu told. You'll see a lot of people like customize their systems and put photos, and they also add like the configurations. Like most of the time, they add like how did they do it. So you can literally, I mean, that's a good way to start. You can literally go there and see. So pick out something they like, I mean, something you like, and see, they generally give a link to the configuration files, and they might have instructions on how to use it, or you can figure it out on your own, but that's a good way to learn and experiment stuff.
Yeah. Should I talk about Wayland maybe? Like it's a bit more technical than.
I think we can do it later on. For now,
Sure.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
yeah. Also, like, I'm pretty sure everyone on this call would have tried something out, like, or I mean, you would have, like, it'll be nice if everyone could talk about their experiences with
Yeah,
any
yeah, that's
distro that
great.
they use. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Also, a distro is nothing but like someone sat there and customized. I mean, most probably it's like a desktop environment packaged and given to you, or someone customized that desktop environment and gave it to you. It's literally that much. So yeah, it'll be nice if you guys could start up one by one. And yeah, Kunal, yeah, you should be the first one.
So I
You want to
used
talk?
Kali in college uh, with uh, with GNOME for some time. Then GNOME became a little buggy, so I went to KD and later I shifted to i3. And i3 was particularly the best that I used so far. But during job, I had to use a Mac, so I was not liking it that much. But recently, I shifted back to Linux and I installed Ubuntu instead. And then after that, I simply, got my i3 Dotfiles back. And it was very simple to, get back to my old setup, and it felt more productive. Like I have used GNOME for a very long time. I have used it before college. Even after Unity became the default thingy for Ubuntu, I simply dislike that change.
So one of my pain points with Ubuntu is like how you have to upgrade the entire system, like 2 years down the line. How do you deal with that?
I haven't used Ubuntu. This is my first time running Ubuntu. Um,
Oh,
so I used only
okay.
Kali during my college time since it was all rolling.
Oh, Kali is rolling. I didn't know that.
Yeah, one of the good things. That's what I also one of the crucial questions that I had this time before installing a distro on this new
Mhm.
laptop. That what should I go for? But since I had to use it mainly for office, I thought Kali would be a bit overkill.
Yeah, I think we should explain what rolling is. I mean, Kunal, if you would do that.
Like there's not exactly version and all the softwares etc. mostly are like what you can say is just after the testing part, just after all the softwares are tested, they are directly pushed to the repositories directly. So you mostly have the latest version of everything that you need on hand in your distro. Even things like the kernel and maybe any security upgrades that are needed, they are always, mostly, I believe, in under 1 month, you will receive the latest things on your distro. And you don't have to have specific versions. Since it's rolling, there is no specific versioning. Kali has versioning, but yeah, I don't think Arch has it, or even Manjaro for that part.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why it's like just you have the latest software. And this was one of the reason I was not using Ubuntu based systems, because I used to, I mean, experiment with like for specific, like when I was working on Node.js, I noticed how they are always like 2, 3 versions behind, or even worse at times. So if you want to install these things, you'll have to manually go and install them. Not, I mean, the default package manager will be always on a much older version in case of Ubuntu or Debian based stuff. But I
Yeah,
mean, yeah,
that is the only pain point that I've faced
yeah,
since last 20 or 30 days. Other than
yeah.
that, it's okay.
Okay, so Sarthak, do you want to go next?
So like in starting I had Ubuntu installed, but like I didn't have much of a RAM, so like my system hanged a lot. So I shifted to Arch, I guess, a year ago. Then like now I've shifted to a new laptop, so I'm on Ubuntu back because like Arch was like I have to search for things, different things. So I'm keeping Arch on another laptop. Regarding the window manager, I'm using i3 since a year. Before that, I used GNOME. i3 was like I was interested in customizing stuff, so I asked Vishnu Bhaiya, and then he told me go for i3, and I was like okay. And then I scrolled in Xpon and did a lot of customizations, and I feel like comfortable with I guess i3. Like I can do a lot of work on keyboard except the mouse, like without the mouse, so I feel a bit more comfortable for that. Just that.
That's like one primary reason most people shift to i3, because you can literally not have a mouse and still work with it without any issue. I used to use i3 for that one reason, but I had issues with it later, so I shifted out. Okay, so I'm
Just
going
a
in.
just
Yeah.
a funny thing. There's a window manager named Rat Poison. You know, Rat Poison. So yeah, the people who use window managers usually detest mouse. They are like mostly on keyboard stuff. But what I found is having a good mouse combined with keyboard usually improves productivity a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a mix of keyboard shortcuts and mouse gestures makes you much faster, actually. Like it's more comfortable.
Mouse is very underrated.
Yeah.
Man, and it depends on the mouse too. Like if you have a good gaming mouse, I feel like it's really good. Like the macro buttons and the good scroll bar, like it's really underrated. People use this cheap Chinese mouses and they're like, okay, this mouse hurts my hand, it's bad. But like you should really shift to a good mouse. Like it's like a one-time investment. It's really durable piece of technology.
Yeah, I've had a mouse for the last 5 years. I've used an LG. I'm saying LG. I've used a Logitech G402 for the past 5 years, and it's still going strong.
Yeah. Mouses don't get destroyed. Like that's a fun unless you abuse them or use them for
Yeah,
like FPS games, it's probably fine.
I have noticed a wire issue, like it bends. You guys haven't, if it's wired, yeah. Like now I have a wireless one. The first one I had was wired, so after a year or two, the wire bent and the connection broke and gone. That's it. So I had to buy a new one.
I use it very carefully.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it depends. Like, but yeah, it's like how much effort you put into configuring it. But if you like do it, it'll actually be really good. Like if you're able to configure your mouse gestures and your keyboard shortcuts like around how you use the system, it'll actually make you much faster and it'll make it more intuitive for you to use the system. It'll be like your system, and like you'll be able to control every aspect. It's nice.
Yeah, only you can do it. No one else can
Yeah,
operate your
No,
system.
no one else
that's
can
yeah,
even touch it.
yeah. Okay, we'll go next. Abhishek Bansal, you want to talk?
I guess he's not there. We'll move on to someone else.
Okay. Uh, okay. That's
Let's
weird.
stick to the people like the admins.
Okay. Yeah. So
I
if
mean,
anybody,
people
yeah,
will know who will talk. So basically, just the people.
yeah. If anybody wants to add, you can add on because I'm not
Dev
sure.
Mrigank,
Yeah.
Dev Mrigank, you guys.
Hey. Yeah,
What's
so
happening, man? I
around
lost connection for a while.
Okay, man.
You're still talking
Nothing.
about desktop environments, right?
Yeah, basically your experience with distros and window managers, etc.
Yeah, so I can talk about awesome if it's hasn't been talked
Sure.
about yet. So yeah. So I usually like all others, I used to start with Ubuntu, and then slowly I felt like I can customize. I need to customize more of the desktop environments according to my likes. So I tried KDE for a while. It was good. You could customize almost anything in there. If you open up Unix Spawn, you will see people have customized KDE in a lot of ways. Like people even make it look exactly like Windows or Mac OS, or even create your own design systems. Like I've seen people copy Google's material design onto their system. So you could do a lot of things with KDE, but again, as I think people already talked about it, it's very unstable, and at least for me, it was quite unstable. So I had to move away from it, and then it was time to try different window managers as specific. So I ditched all the desktop environment as a whole and tried different window managers such as i3. So i3 is great if you're a beginner and if you want to look into window managers and tiling window managers and customizing your window managers. If you're new to this desktop environments and basically the basics of customization. So i3 would be a great start. It's configuration driven window manager, tiling window manager, and it's very easy to use. You can find a lot of configurations online. So it's good. It works, and you can, for most of the part, it will do your job. But then if you want to bring it to the next level, there comes awesome window manager. It's not configuration driven, it's a code driven window manager wherein you can configure almost every part of the window manager. For example, the keyboard shortcuts, obviously, these are the small things, but you can, the best part is you can even create your own user interfaces. So if I want to say create or say Android like system, I can do that too. I have full control over what I want to display over my screen. So that's the best part. Again, if you want inspirations, you can check out Unix Spawn, and people have created beautiful stuff. I think we can share some of the screenshots on the screen. Vishnu, can you share your screen and show something awesome maybe?
There's actually some. Okay, let me see. Let me confirm that there is no information.
Just open that at Dotfiles. Something else.
I'll share it. It's fine. I'll share the screen. How do I share the screen? Yeah, press it now. Your entire screen. Screen one. Can you guys see it?
Yep.
Cool.
Show some of the magic.
So basically, what should I say? Okay, some of the know what? Okay, I can't show you the best thing yet because I'm using dual screen and it's actually a bit fucked up right now. I'm sharing the other screen. I have some stuff on the other screen, but never mind that. But so basically, I have stuff like so if I press mod plus S, this thing comes up. It's just a floating terminal. I can do stuff with that. So one of the things I like to do is like I have my if I'm developing like this, I use Vim and there is like a terminal here. Sometimes I want to like open up maybe a browser, like if I'm doing some web development, and I have it open like this, and I can press mod plus shift plus U, and it's in a special kind of it's dynamically bound to a key binding now. Now I can just press mod plus U and it will show up and like you can show and hide some stuff. If I open another terminal, I can add it to the same group. And I can press mod plus U and it will come up and down. So basically you can run like some kind of web server here. And you can basically visit here and like just show and hide depending on how you work and stuff. One other thing is like so this is my music player. I open it and so if I play some stuff, okay, so you can see the notification here. This is fully custom. Like this is it. Like I basically just wrote a lot of Lua to for it to be shown like that. Like you can customize basically everything about your system. Like your notification system, you can write your own UI elements for your notification system. You can basically do anything you want. So like there is no limit. Like your imagination is the limit. Like the only thing I'd say is bad is you have to write a lot of Lua. Like my config is like too huge now, and Lua is not a good language. Like if you look at my, like it's like 10,000 lines. Some of it is Git submodules, like code I took from other people, but like Lua is not a good language to debug nor write. So you end up writing a lot of shit that it could be like suboptimal code. You end up writing a lot of suboptimal code. But I think like you have a lot of, what do you say? You can explore a lot. Like if you are fine with dedicating time to it, I think you can explore a lot of stuff. Like it's not the some of the workflows I've seen with Awesome is like super crazy. Like I feel like maybe it's not like the best thing out there, but if you actually fit yourself to uh, the the workflow they have, I think like you can achieve a lot. But yeah, that's about it. I could like show off a lot more, but I think like I shouldn't take up the entire time. So yeah.
Okay, Vishnu, I want to ask one thing. So, is, is your config or dot files on GitHub or somewhere?
No, I don't
Ah,
publish my dot files because the thing
why?
is like I commit secrets to Git. Like it's a
Ah,
bad thing to do, but I commit like my API keys and stuff. So I don't want it to be public.
oh, okay, fine. No, I was just thinking that maybe I don't have to write this much workload. Actually,
Yeah.
I had just started using this awesome window manager. I was using i3 previously, and there was this config thing, and there was this lower thing. So I was like, I was just exploring this thing. So I'd say,
Mhm.
yeah, I just start with awesome VM and see how it goes and all that. Actually, one thing is, so I don't know. I didn't customize it. I just downloaded some dot files or something, and that was too pretty good. Means,
Yeah, the thing is like Awesome is pretty good out of the box, and there are
yeah,
really good repos containing already very good dot files. So
yeah,
one
right.
of them is Elena Pan. So she has like epic dot files, some of the best even.
Okay, I will take a look. Other than that, about distros, like man, I have been using a lot of distros in this 3 years. I have used Ubuntu, Linux Mint, Farron OS, Manjaro, Parrot OS. I maybe Kali Linux for like a few days.
What about Gentoo?
And what about?
No, he's joking.
I'm just
Yeah.
joking.
Okay, okay. So I have tried all those things, and about that, I found like KD to be very buggy. And the thing you mentioned about the thing Kanishkar mentioned about Ubuntu, that this version control thing, right? About the software, that how their version is like 2 or 3 less than the latest and all this. So that's why I was like changing all those things, and now I am back to Arch. And there is one thing with Arch that I found, that when you install Arch, there is a I think a steep learning curve, you say, because you get to know things about like disk and all that. Actually, when I was first installing Arch, I was with Mrigank, and I was like, "Hey, help me installing this, how's this, what do and all that." So I was able to install. But yeah, I think there is a steep learning curve in that, and you get to know a lot about, not a lot, but yeah, something about Linux, how things work, something like that.
Yeah, that's there. I know a guy who installed Arch, and in his install, he removed like when he's install. So the thing is, Arch is you can like the installer allows you to choose what you want and what you don't want. So this guy, what he went up to do was he didn't install anything graphical user like anything graphical, like nothing was there. His system was literally just a terminal. So when he would start up, it starts with the terminal, and then he would like terminal instance. It's not like your, I mean, known terminal or anything. It's like literally just your full screen with shell. So then he went ahead and looked on what to install for what, and he told me like I think he spent like some time on it. He told me after 2 3 days that dude, I learned a lot in these 3 days, because he literally installed like a login manager, a display man. I mean, he installed everything in a desktop environment. Like he was like, I'm gonna just go and do everything manually. I think that's a good learning experience. I mean, it's yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The same thing happened to me. Like I fucked up my Arch installation for around, I guess, 2 times. So regarding this only, I used to do work on terminal, and then I installed the Geo and stuff separately. So like yeah, the Arch wiki is pretty awesome to learn the stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
Even if you don't use Arch, I think
Yeah,
ArchWiki
yeah.
has some of the best
About
documentation
I
out
was
there.
about to say the same thing. Uh, Even I don't use Arch, but I refer to ArchWiki a lot. It also has a lot of tools and things that you can use in other distros.
The minimal tools, it also shows the minimal things, right? The thing that don't use too much of system. Right?
Yeah, right. So anyone else wants to add their distro uh, window manager experiences?
I
Maybe you want to? Yeah.
yeah
Okay.
yeah. So initially I had Ubuntu, but for some reason Ubuntu was very buggy on my system. Like I mean, I thought it should be stable, but it used to throw random errors and stuff. So yeah, I switched a lot. Like I went to there are a lot of them. I went to Linux Mint, Arch, Antergos, and yeah, even this, and then I came across Manjaro. For some reason, I liked it. Like I like Manjaro for two. Yeah, one first is that it's a rolling release, so you have that facility of. I mean, you have the thing about having the latest software, and it's helpful. Some like, I mean, it's really helpful. Like having the latest software. But yeah, there's another issue with latest software is that a lot of times the reason that other distros don't take the latest software is because it is not well tested. I mean, not exactly well tested. It's not tested enough. So what happens is generally like you have this pattern. I mean, you have this some kind of like hierarchy. Like let's say someone releases an update. First, it goes through like phase one of testing kind of thing, where some people, there are some volunteers who who used it on their system, and then they like they report all the bugs they face, and then people fix them, and then it goes through like a phase two and stuff like that. So Manjaro doesn't Manjaro does this one thing where it doesn't exactly take the latest update also, but it doesn't wait that long either. So it waits around for like I think 2 or 3 weeks. I don't remember the exact time. So it waits for some time, and it expects like certain quality bar that the software should pass before it is pushed onto the users. So that's like a good thing because you get the latest updates without that much of risk. So, and also for some reason, I noticed that Manjaro consumes less power than uh, Ubuntu, and like it comes with like a good configuration by default. So I got like I had a better battery life experience with it. Then then I used i3 VM. I mean i3 window. I know why I say VM. i3 window manager. Then Awesome. I use Awesome, and the main issue was what Vishnu pointed out about having a you have to write a lot of code to get it working, and also tiling doesn't work properly with Awesome VM. I mean Awesome window manager. So and but I was used to tiling because I was using i3, and so I switched back to i3. Then I switched to this thing called as BSPWM. I think you should try it out. BSP is also pretty cool. Like they also they also use a tiling window manager, but they do it the way they tile is different, and it's kind of nice. Then, but yeah, I had issues with it, so I switched back to KDE on Manjaro, and all this time I was in Manjaro because I felt it like the best. But yeah, the KDE is like again like everyone pointed out, it is very buggy, and also Manjaro itself is a little buggy. Like I had issues running like especially when it comes to GPU. For some reason, like anything related to GPU was going wrong with Manjaro. Like I was not able to use my graphics card, or like even simple things like video rendering and stuff would, I mean, it would just go wrong. Something would go wrong. If it's anything related to drivers, just goes wrong. So I shifted to PopOS, and I'm kind of liking it, but I haven't used it enough to say anything very strong about it. But the main reason I switched to PopOS is it is Ubuntu based, so it has a stable software. And if I want the latest release, it is a little painful to get it, but I mean, it's not like it's impossible to get it. So like, and also I want a stable system. Like I don't want things to break randomly. So I mean, and PopOS is like, I think it's by a company called System 76. So they maintain the operating system. So I think they're doing a good job. Like, and I like one important feature is you have this thing, like, let's say you have an application, you can right click on it and be like, start with dedicated GPU. I haven't seen this in any distro I've tried till now. Like, it's really painful to get, to do this. Generally what happens is, if you have an NVIDIA card, for example, you'll have to restart your system to get the GPU working. And once you get GPU working, your whole OS runs on the GPU. It's not like you have partially something. I mean, there are ways to configure it, but it's not that easy, or it's not that, I mean, it's not like friendly at all. It's not user friendly at all. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to point out some hard points about like bad things about using Linux. Like we all say good things about Linux. I think we don't speak enough about the bad things. So some of the things that I want to say is like just like Kanishkar just now mentioned, GPUs give a hard time on Linux. Like if it's an NVIDIA GPU, you are in for a treat, because like there is like so much bad driver code. Like it's impossible. Like every system I had, every laptop I've had, I've just disabled the NVIDIA GPU and I just use the Intel one. Like I don't even bother with trying to fix the drivers for it, because it's just easier to do it, to use Intel in the long run. And the next thing is battery. Battery sucks on Linux. Like if you're using Arch and you don't have like you are in like tweaking it for the maximum battery performance, you aren't gonna get good battery life. So like some distros does it better than others. Like what I've seen, what Kanishka just said, like Manjaro I've seen has like they do a lot of tweaking like under the hood. I've heard Fedora also does it. So if anyone wants to like explore into Linux and is looking for a distro that's better than Ubuntu, maybe try Fedora. I have not used it, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. The next biggest thing is hardware acceleration. So this is the one that bugs me the most. So it kind of ties in with the battery issue as well. So what hardware acceleration is, basically it's for browsers, and it's video rendering based on hardware acceleration. So you get streams from the internet, video streams, and you are using whether either your CPU or GPU to decode it. So GPU is actually really optimized to render video, to decode video streams, and CPU isn't. On Linux, no browser supports, like no browser in the sense neither Chrome nor Firefox supports hardware acceleration right now on X. And this means if you try to play a YouTube video on YouTube, you get like 30% CPU usage. This thing bugs me way too much. I watch a lot of YouTube videos and I work like while the thing is playing, and every time I work, like I'm like wasting 30% of my CPU usage on bullshit stuff, like nothing at all. This is not the case on Windows, and if Linux had hardware acceleration, it's not the case on Linux as well. It probably uses like 5 to 10% of CPU. And the problem with no hardware acceleration is that you get bad battery life. Like your battery life like plummets if you're watching a YouTube video or something. Yeah, it's sorry for the rant, but I really hate that Linux does not have hardware acceleration. Firefox might get it in the next release, but only for Wayland systems, not for Edge systems. If there's time, I can actually explain those, but yeah. Sorry for the rant again.
No, it's good, I guess. I mean, Linux is not like the perfect thing. Like, it's like especially GPU. Like, if you're doing gaming or anything, then just forget about it. Like, I don't. I mean, like I'm trying. I think PopOs is meant for gaming. Like, you can check it out if anyone wants to try out gaming on Linux. But I think that's the reason they have put like a lot of effort in getting NVIDIA working correctly on it. And like literally, this is the first time that I installed a distro and my GPU was working out of the box. Like I was surprised, to be honest. Like always, it's something like I install something else and I configure something else, and it works for a while, and then I do a system update and everything breaks again. So yeah, and I think also the customizability has an issue. Like you end up wanting for more, I guess. Like I don't know how to explain it. It's like there's this common term used called as distro hopping. It's like when you end up like so it's like this, you end up using a distro for a month, maybe that's it, and you reinstall something and you keep doing this because you know you can change, so you end up changing it a lot, and that actually makes you less productive. I've noticed this. So I've seen people like I read about people who have used like Linux for 20 years and then they shift to Windows, saying that distro hopping has been like made me like really unproductive and has created a lot of problems. So I wanted to use something that just works fine and does everything, I mean, it should do.
one of the problems is also, manufacturers not providing proper drivers for Linux. That's also an issue that I've seen a lot. There's no good vendor support for Linux in the market. So that's one big issue that people face when installing drivers and such. A lot of these drivers are proprietary, only created for Windows, and then people themselves put these or write these in an open source manner for Linux. So that is how Linux drivers also thrive in a sense.
Yeah, so open source software and Linux go hand in hand. And like Kanishka said, like distro hopping, customization is a problem as well. You end up wasting a lot of time on customization. Like, I mean, I spent probably like, I don't know, like I don't even keep count anymore. Like so many hours spent on customization and looking how to tweak my system. It's a wasteful thing. Like you may have, like the perfect system is not achievable, and you end up wasting a lot of time that you could have spent learning something new or writing your personal project or something, and you spend those on just tweaking your system. It's a bad thing, but like I think it's a trade-off. Like, would you classify playing a game as a waste of time? Probably no. So it's like a hobby. Like if it's like a hobby for you, it's a hobby for me. So if it's like a hobby for you, it might not be essentially a waste of time. You're just taking a break from the other things and customizing your system. But yeah, you have to keep that in mind if you're going to try out i3 or something, because you are going to waste a lot of time and you have to judge whether it's worth your investment or not.
Yeah, that's there. And also one more thing is when you customize a lot, you end up like doing something that breaks everything. I mean, unless you back up things properly, you might do something that just breaks everything. So you have no other option but to reinstall or reconfigure everything from scratch. So it takes time, but yeah, like I think it's like it is fun. So I think you should, I don't think you will hate it, but it depends. Like if let's say you're working on, let's say, yeah, you're interning or you're doing some like serious project in which you can't afford to waste time on such things, then I don't think it's a good idea to switch. But if you're like not doing anything and you're just, like you're just chilling around, you can try it out.
Yeah. Okay. So should I like go into, a bit of technical at Xorg Wayland stuff?
I think so. I mean, no one is, I think the next thing is that can go into that.
Sure. So like Kanishkar said, talked about display managers. So display managers, what they essentially do is like once you log into your system, they start something called called as an H server. Like this is how it is working right now, and it's been working for like the past 20 years, I guess. So they start something called as an H server, and basically what the H server is, it renders your the applications give the H server a display buffer, and the H server displays it onto your display. So it's like applications can communicate to the H server, and H server will display it onto your screen. And the window manager, like window managers are what places. So this means H server can only like display one application at a time. Like it's basically one display buffer, and it's just that. So what window managers is, it's a client to the H server, which is a special client. Like what it says is, if any application wants to display anything, just reroute the request to me, and I will handle it for them. That's what a window manager says. So the window manager manages stuff like where the window should be placed on the screen, where what should be the size of the window, should the window be visible, should the window be on the front or on the back. It's stuff like this. So window managers, like every display manager, like as Kanishkar said, the window manager is the constant. Like you have to have a window manager. The display manager is not the display manager. The desktop environment is completely optional. So KDE has Kevin, GNOME has Mutter, I think. So, and there are like tons of other window managers as well, which basically only handles the placement of the window, the size of the window, and other attributes on the window. And Kanishkar talked about compositors as well. Compositors basically apply some kind of transformations onto the display buffer that it gets. So basically, you can do stuff like transparency. You can dim it. You can I don't know, like basically apply some kind of filters on top of it. If I use the modern woke terminology, it applies filters onto your applications, and this is how it has been working for 20 years. And there is a shift to a newer technology which is called Wayland. And Wayland, so Kanishkar talked about replacing your Kevin with i3 as well. With Wayland, this is not going to be possible, because what Wayland is essentially is it's a protocol. It defines a protocol on how applications can communicate with the with an application, with another application which implements this protocol. So it's basically like you can write your own Wayland window manager based on these protocols. And the Wayland window manager has the compositor built in. So it's like, so Kanishkar said that KDE is modular, like it has different parts and you can switch out different parts. This is impossible with Wayland. So Wayland is like one huge thing which handles all of the display stack. There are good things and bad things about it. The good thing is that they're starting off with a clean slate. So X has been here for like 20 years. All the new things that X has been extensions on top of X. So basically there is that server and you add extensions on top of it. This is not a good thing, you know. And there is no security with X. So any application can spy on any other application. Like if you open your banking application and you have an other X application, the X application can look at your banking applications window and it can take screenshots or whatever. So Wayland like improves the security of window managers. It theoretically improves the technology, and it's a better future-proof method of doing it. And with Wayland window managers, the hardware acceleration, that thing I was talking about, it might be a better scene because Firefox actually supports it with, I think, the latest version. It actually supports hardware acceleration on Wayland. So most of the thing, like KDE is still not on Wayland, but GNOME is on Wayland. And yeah, there is a lot of Wayland-based window managers as well. There is like, I think a few popping up in the last year or so. And in 2-3 years or in 5 years, what I am predicting, like most of the stuff will switch to Wayland because it has got better, like it's basically the future. So essentially everything will end up switching to it. So yeah. So if you're like new and if you want to use a tiling window manager and you're thinking about i3, maybe use Sway, which is like the i3 equivalent in Wayland. You can't like depend on everything to work because it's still new technology. But like if you're like keen on experimenting, you may want to try it out.
Is there anything anyone else wants to add or discuss about or has questions?
Yeah, I guess no one, as it's usual. All right, so I guess this is the end. I'll stop recording now.